Pandemonium Reigns.
Yo, welcome. Thanks for being here. All the nice things that I could possibly say to you. Thanks for joining Pandemonium Reigns. Thanks for letting us tickle your ears. We're excited to be here. Mike, are you excited to be here?
I'm excited. This is a fun subject that we're going to tickle those ears with today. I'm excited for it.
We're going to tickle them. Hey, the only thing better than Pandemonium Reigns is what, Mike? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
More Pandemonium Reigns. We're throwing a bonus episode at these guys.
This is true.
So we're going to talk Coaching Carousel. Coaching Carousel. And we got the college football world never lacks content, right? I mean, it's just always there. And I've got some comments, some things I especially want to say with the new Auburn head football coach, Hugh. I'm going to say his middle name is Douglas Freeze. I don't know.
It's actually Danny Hugh Freeze.
Did you know that? I did not. Danny Hugh Freeze. Oh,
that's a terrible combination by Mama Freeze and Daddy Freeze. Oh, yeah. Danny Hugh Freeze Jr. Excuse me. Pardon me.
Junior. Well, for what it's worth, it feels like down on the plains, it is freezing over. Auburn fans, I don't see a lot of positivity or excitement over this. And I have comments. I have a lot of comments. And so I just want to know, like, what do you think? I mean, if you're an Auburn fan, what's up?
You're probably a little worried because now not only do you have and listen, lots more things are legal now than they used to be, but not only do you have Bruce Pearl on campus on the plains, you now got Danny Hugh Freeze, and I think I heard a rumor that the NCAA headquarters were going to move down from Indianapolis to Auburn. Did you hear that, or is it just me?
I did not hear. Is this a joke?
Okay. It is a joke. It is a joke.
I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, no. I was looking into Hugh Freeze, and I was looking into some of these coaches that we're going to talk about earlier today with some downtime that I had. And listen, here's another joke. It's actually not a joke, but if you need a laugh, go to Hugh Freeze's Wikipedia and look at all the vacated wins, because there's so many Ole Miss seasons that are 0-6, 0-7, 0-5. They would not vacate a win over, Marshall or somebody, UTC.
Yeah.
Those wins didn't get vacated, I guess, because they happened in the middle of all the other games, but they did not get vacated. So if you need a laugh, go to his Wikipedia and have yourself a laugh.
Yeah.
Now, from the football side of things, Auburn nailed it, I think.
Okay.
But
yeah, agreed.
With the other baggage, this is so frustrating for me on so many levels beyond football.
Well, can you remind our listeners what the baggage actually is? What got him terminated in a short summary there?
Well, he got terminated from Ole Miss because he was paying for the recruits before the NIL era existed.
You would have told them how he was paying them.
and he was using his Ole Miss phone, his state school issued phone, to hire escorts, and for I guess for maybe himself and for players, I don't know.
Is that what we're going to call them?
Yeah, that we're going to call them escorts, because that's the accepted societal word.
It's an all-inclusive word.
All-inclusive word. Big inclusion there. But I guess what bothers me as much as that is frustrating as that is and disgusting as that is his social media handling while he's been at Liberty just this year is basically as bad as all the stuff at Ole Miss. I mean, almost. Yeah. I mean, he's messaging sexual assault victims and defending I think Baylor AD that was wrapped up in the deal there. I don't know who he was who was the assaulter in that scenario, but he's messaging victims and going to bat for these bad people and things like that. So like I said, from the football aspect, I think they nailed it. From the person aspect, the individual aspect, they couldn't have missed further. I mean, I understand the embarrassment. And what I was going to say societally, what bothers me is he can be stashed away at Liberty over in Virginia, and nobody cares. Yeah, he's a bad person. He did dumb things. He's stupid, yada, yada. Yeah. But when he gets back in the in the limelight, back in the SEC, we just bring it back up. Why don't we care when he's at Liberty? I'm not saying I'm not giving him a pass. I'm just saying, why don't we care while
Man,
he's
that's
at
a
Liberty?
great question. Because there's nothing on Twitter regarding that. I mean, and if there is, it's far and few between.
Yeah.
You have to go back to the time of the hiring, and there's just not much there. Nothing. Yeah. Of course, I get it. It's Liberty football, but
right.
I mean, you've got the left, and when I say the left, I mean the political left, all in an uproar over this. But nothing, crickets, silence when he got hired at Liberty. And I do just want to sneak this in there. I know I interrupted you a little bit.
You're good.
In the midst of all that, this guy accepted the 2014 Grant Teef Coach of the Year Award presented by the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Yeah, I was reading on maybe his Wikipedia, maybe just online. I can't remember. But when I was digging into Danny Hugh Freeze, because I just love saying that now.
Danny Hugh.
He was a frequent person to be contacted and speaking at churches and things like that while he was, I think, out of coaching and while he was at Liberty before this most recent uproar, which again, there was no reason not to be uproaring while he was at Liberty. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not giving him a pass. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But just doesn't look like a good human to me. I'm all about people getting second chances. We all
for sure
have gotten them, but this is probably his third or fourth chance in all reality. And again, the most recent things that I have issues with occurred like over the summer of 2022. It's not 8 to 10 years ago or something like that. And which if you want to look, there's plenty of stuff about his time in the high school ranks and over towards Memphis that you just not good stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, again, bad person, I think, but football wise, they probably nailed the hire. I just wonder if it'll work out, if that'll balance out between potential NCAA issues, potential big character issues, and then the football side of things. Where at Auburn, Josh Pate said if the minute he wins 10 games, the detractors would be much less than they are now. Well, if you don't follow that up with another 10 win or even above that, it's going to be hot. That's the way Auburn works.
Absolutely. And his you can't really tell. I don't know where to find this either. His tenure and time at Ole Miss is got asterisks all over it because of the vacated wins. But the dude won at Ole Miss and the dude won at Liberty. He's 34-15 at Liberty, which that is a hard thing to do. And I'm sure being a private school, they've got some kind of academic standards over there. But the dude is a winner. And so I started asking myself. I went back to 2017 when, what's his head hired Greg Schiano for Knoxville.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, okay, the Tennessee fan base went into an absolute uproar and prevented that from happening. I started thinking about what's the difference. I was like, oh, okay. I think that is the difference. I don't want to say it out loud yet. See if you can answer that question. What is the difference between that and this hire?
Well, the difference is what my gosh, Sandusky was involved in while Schiano was at Penn State, and also equally, if not more, how bad of a football coach and
there it is,
potentially a person he is.
Yes. Okay. So comparable moral issues, right?
Yes.
The difference in the Tennessee hire was Schiano was not a good hire. He was not a good football coach. Players did not like him. And so Tennessee fan base caught a lot of flack for that. Now, let me ask you this. What do you think the difference is between Hugh Freeze and almost every other Power 5 football coach? Almost. I think there's good ones out there, but what do you think the difference is between Hugh Freeze and those guys?
Ultimately,
let's talk more. And I'm talking morally.
Oh, morally. I was thinking from the football aspect. I was going to say he does have back-to-back wins over Nick Saban to his credit, but morally,
yes.
I can't get past the things that are being brought back into light right now. So, I mean, he is a Christian. He is a proclaimed Christian.
Sure. And I hope he is. Again, I want to reiterate what you said about second chances, and I really hope that's the case.
And also, we don't know the guy.
Exactly.
I don't know what's real and what's not. I just know that a lot of stuff is being brought up now that was fine while he was at Liberty, basically.
Yeah. I think the differences between Hugh Freeze and most, again, I'm going to say most because I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater here, is Hugh Freeze got caught.
Yeah.
Are you really going to tell me that every other coach is just spotless and blameless, perfect in the eyes of God? Stop it. Are we really convinced that Nick Saban doesn't know about the cars and, Trent Richardson and all that stuff before the NIL was a thing? Are we really going to play that card? Is that what we're going to do?
No way.
That's my beef with it. Let's stop. Because ultimately the difference is he got caught. Now, am I justifying what he did? No, it's not what I'm doing. And again, I don't want to classify guys like a Mark Richt or a dude, the guy that's up there at Northwestern or
Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I think he's a good dude. Bill Snyder, right? Who's done at Kansas State. I think there's names out there, Bobby Bowden, who just don't. But are you really gonna tell me Jimbo Fisher doesn't have similar sins? I mean, and I hate to be, saying being able to throw names out there in the negative light, but we've seen some of his public stuff, the way he handled the Jameis Winston situation and other things like that. But my issue here is, I don't know that there's that much of a difference other than he got caught, right?
Right.
So as far as the football side of things go, I think Auburn nailed it.
Absolutely. I agree.
Did you hear what Free said in his hiring press conference?
I heard bits and pieces, but nothing sticks out that I recall offhand.
So he was asked about the Iron Bowl, Nick Saban. He talks about how Nick and Terry are good friends, how they were good to him or kind to him, during let's call it the fallout, whatever. And he says, but if I'm Nick, I forget how he words it, something along the lines of, I hope this is a nervous day for him.
Yeah. Yes.
And it should be. If I'm an Alabama fan, if I'm a Georgia fan, if I'm a fan of any team in the West, yep, because that dude's back. And he reached some serious heights, in example being back-to-back wins against Saban in 2014, 2015. Now it took some miracles in 2015.
Sure did.
Regardless, he did it. Back when Alabama was abusing people.
Oh yeah.
So now he's got a higher ceiling in the plains of Auburn. He's got better resources. I think the college football world needs to look out. And if I'm willing to bet, I don't know this for sure yet, maybe there's going to be some kind of show clause in his contract, right?
Oh man, this contract should be worded such that they have an easy, no buyout if he does this or that. If he cusses, I mean, good grief, then he doesn't get his buyout money. Like, that's the way this thing should be written. I hope that I hope it doesn't burn Auburn, because I do like that place. But hopefully Hugh can keep his nose clean, because I'm about done with him based on everything I've heard.
Sure. Yeah, I totally agree. It looks like his deal is 6-year contract, going to pay him an average of $6.5 million a year. Brought to you by ESPN. Also, one other thing, if we're getting ready to move on from Hugh Freeze, if Hugh Freeze doesn't work out, I can prophesy and tell you who the next Auburn football head coach is going to be.
I want to hear it, because I don't know.
It's Butch Jones. Auburn seems to be going after these Arkansas State guys, Brian Harsin, Gus Malzahn, now Hugh Freeze when he was there in 2011. There's another one, name escapes me. But now Butch Jones, who I think went 2-10, something like that, up there, and I think Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Oh, the perfect place for Butch.
Losing it brick by brick.
Yes. Yes.
So let's look at this from the football lens, not through a moral lens, because like you said, we don't know the guy. We do hope that he has really moved on from said things, because what he did, I want people to hear this, was not okay. We are not endorsing that. But I think he has, in due time, paid for his sins. He's been out of the conference for a long time. And I mean, what else are you going to ask for? I mean, one of my favorite second chance stories is Michael Vick. I mean, the guy, the totally changed man. So here's to hoping that two things: that again, he's a changed man, and two, that the Iron Bowl is lopsided in the other direction.
That'd be great.
So, all right. Who's the next coach you want to talk about? Because we spoiled Hugh Freeze.
I think I want to talk about I think I want to talk about Matt Rhule next.
Yes, good. Matt Rhule.
In terms of, like who won the carousel, of course, there's still some openings and there's definitely going to be some moves that are still going to be made.
Yeah.
But a lot of the big moves have been made. And I think, yet again, Nebraska has landed what seems like a perfect candidate for an unfortunate opening yet again, whereas we thought they nailed it with Scott Frost.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thought they nailed it with Mike Riley from Oregon State. But with Scott Frost, we thought they nailed it. He was hot. He was winning at Central Florida. He was from Nebraska, which was perfect. But with Matt Rhule, I really do think there's a chance that they've nailed it here. If you look at his record, he's only 47-43 as a college coach, but that was at Temple when that program was absolute garbage, and which it's fallen back to garbage after him.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was replacing Art Briles. Talk about another scandaled coach, just absolute train wreck of a situation that Art Briles found himself in and helped facilitate, I think, down at Baylor in Waco. And Matt Rhule quickly rebuilt those programs. At Temple, his first year, they went 2-10, followed up with a 6-6 bowl and a bowl berth. And then he won 10 games back-to-back seasons, 10-4 one year, 10-3 the next. At Baylor, it was a little bit uglier of a start, going 1-11 that first year, followed that up with 7-6, which is just bonkers to think about with the offenses and the fireworks of that conference and the scandal that was in Waco.
The sanctions that they were dealing with.
Yes,
I don't remember exactly, but I guarantee you there was scholarship restrictions and all kinds of stuff. And you can't tell me players didn't leave out of there like a freaking exodus.
Oh, absolutely. And then ultimately capping that off with an 11-3 season before he made the poor choice for him of going to the NFL. Not going to hold that against him because we've seen plenty of college coaches not make that transition well.
Right.
But just a guy that has turned bad situations around quickly at two difficult places and two very difficult situations. I heard someone talking about, I'd love to give props to who it was. I cannot remember who it was, but talking about the way that he digs into the high schools and the talent, any talent around or near or far, getting into those places, taking individuals that bigger teams have passed on and winning with those guys.
Yeah.
And then I want to ask you this, as far as when he was an assistant, his time before being a head coach, or even when he was a coordinator, how many do you think he spent more time on the offensive or defensive side?
Well, because of your question, I feel like the answer is defensive, but I had not knowing the context of everything, I would naturally say offensive, but because of the question, it's got to be defensive, right?
It is defensive. I thought he was absolutely an offensive coach for longer than he was a defensive coach, if he had done any defense at all.
Yeah.
This dude has spent 9 seasons in the college ranks on the defensive side of the ball, where he's just spent 4 on the offensive side of the ball.
Wow.
At one point early in his career, it was like one season to the next. He went from like linebackers to like OC and quarterbacks coach. It was crazy. But again, just a guy that has pulled off some remarkable builds. And again, I don't want to hold that part of the carousel against Nebraska, because I think they're the only factor here that can stop this from not allowing it to work, because the builds that he's done, honestly, I think.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at his career history here on the wiki, and we've got linebacker coach, defensive line coach, special teams and linebackers coach, special teams linebacker. Now we're getting into the mid 2000s, assistant head coach at Western Carolina, running game coordinator. That's interesting. And linebackers coach, defensive line coach at Temple, quarterback coach the next year, and recruiting coordinator. And I'm pretty sure that's when they took that jump. Is it not?
I think so.
Okay. 2008 OC and quarterback coach. Now in 2011, he is offense coordinator, tight ends, recruiting coordinator, makes a jump to the pros, offensive line coach, head coach in 2013 at Temple. And the not enough credit is given to him for his time at Baylor from 2017 to 2019. Obviously why the Panthers hired him. And then now at Nebraska, I think it's a home run hire.
I couldn't agree more.
He seems like a really credible guy. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do in a terrible Big Ten West, even though it did
Absolutely.
get some upgrades in a matter of like 72 hours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That division took a jump, and that's on top of Illinois having a strong year.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that Brett Bielema would build on that or maintain that what they did this year.
Yeah.
And then everything else was pretty ugly. Iowa had some moments here and there, but they were just putrid offensively. So that conference really took a strong jump quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess that's going to lead us to Luke Fickell, is it not?
Yes, I think it will. And this is where I struggled. And again, just looking at in my eyes of like who won the carousel. And I think I give the slight edge to Nebraska. I really do, because again, of those situations that Rhule took over.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not wrapped in scandal at Nebraska. They're not, dealing with sanctions or anything like that. They're just dealing with poor administration hires, things like that.
Sure.
A lower talent pool, not having the recruiting ties that you and I have talked about over time. But again, because of the builds that Rhule's pulled off, I think I lean him over Fickell. Not that Fickell is Ryan Day, where he was handed a loaded Ohio State team. I mean, he was the interim there at Ohio State for 1 year, over 10 years ago now, which is crazy to think about. And again, I'm not holding any of that against him, but I think he just had a slightly easier job. Now he's handled it really well. 63-25 overall as a head coach. If you look at Luke Fickell's, I kind of looked season by season there briefly earlier. The guy he either loses close games or he wins. It's crazy. Like, he doesn't lose blowout fashion, which is impressive to me. I mean, again, not that Cincinnati is the toughest or the easiest job in the country.
Hard job.
Yeah. He's done well there. He's continued to build there. I think he did have 4-8. Yeah. 4-8 season at UC in his first year. But, again, he followed that up with 11-win seasons, ultimately reaching the playoff last year in 2021. Neither here nor there. We're not going to get into that, whether they belonged, anything like that. They never stood a prayer against Alabama is the point.
Yeah.
But, mostly impressive stuff. And we kind of fell asleep here on Luke Fickell, I think, thinking he was content with Cincinnati, or really, really waiting for, I'm talking about a blue blood,
Ohio State.
Maybe Ohio State, something to that effect, when an opening comes up. And he kind of lulled us to sleep. And he's like, "No, watch this. I'm going to head to Wisconsin, and y'all see what I'm going to do."
Yeah, I mean that hire just really blows my mind, and I think what people are not talking about enough is Wisconsin is sending a message. Hey, all right, we're getting serious about this. So I don't think Luke Fickell takes this job if he doesn't have a conversation with Wisconsin and says, "All right, what are you guys willing to do to pour into the football program?" Because where I'm coming from, they're willing to take a jump into a Power 5 conference, and they're doing all these things.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Luke Fickell doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to just kind of up and do it anywhere if the administration doesn't feel right, if he doesn't see the long-term vision for the football program. Wisconsin is not I don't see them as a stepping stone job to somewhere else. I think you can win big there. I just think their offense has been so lost in the 90s.
Yeah.
They're waiting on what's his that big running back from the late 90s to come back, Ron Dane.
Ron Dane
to come back. But my mind here's where my mind keeps going inside of this move from Luke Fickell is, what is, as of right now, if you're a Cincinnati fan, you're about to make this jump to the Big 12. Yes, Texas and Oklahoma are leaving, but you still got some dudes in that conference.
You got some players out there.
Right? TCU, who's probably going to go to the playoff. Kansas State, who could really mess that up for TCU. Kansas looks like Leipold might be staying around. If they can kind of build off that. Iowa State, Matt Campbell. They're watch 2-3 years, they'll have another great run. So they're stepping into a much more difficult situation. So if they don't get this hire right, Cincinnati is catching the raw end of this deal. I'm wondering if I'm the administration at Cincinnati saying, all right, we feel like Luke's going to be here a while. Let's make the jump.
Yeah.
But now he's not. So I go, what does that mean for Cincinnati? But I think it's Wisconsin. I think it's a fantastic hire. It's going to be so weird seeing, a potential running quarterback in Madison, Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
Not the ace under center and the I formations under center. Really looking forward to seeing, how Luke Fickell revamps those offenses. But I think it's a heck of a hire, and the dude racked up some serious Coach of the Year awards.
Oh yeah,
in 2021. Home Depot, AFCA, Sporting News, Bobby Dodd, Eddie Robinson, Paul Bear Bryant, Coach of the Year.
My goodness.
AAC, 3-time Coach of the Year, 2018, 2020 through 21, and Assistant Coach of the Year in 2010. I want to throw a little fact at you real quick before we throw things back at you. You know, before Ryan Day, he's the last Ohio State head coach to lose to Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
So.
I looked into that 2011 season and just kind of trying to remember it, honestly. I mean, it just feels like so long ago now. But again, went 6-7. I don't remember, what the actual condition of their roster was. I just know that it wasn't that bad. Yeah. So, going 6-7 there, not having been a head coach before, but again, almost all those losses were close losses. I mean, he just does not lose games by very many points. And I think, for as good as last season was, 2021, winning or heading to the playoffs, this year is so impressive, going 9-3 despite replacing Desmond Ridder, losing Sauce Gardner, and I think another cornerback that I can't think the name of. I think they lost 2 corners back there.
Kobe Bryant.
That's it. That's why I couldn't think of it because too obvious. But I mean, they lost some dudes off a team that won 13 games last year. They've still managed 9-3 again with close losses this year. Yeah, they hung with Arkansas when Arkansas was a much better team earlier in the year, or a much stronger, healthier team earlier in the year, I'll say. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really close to dead even, I think, between Nebraska and Wisconsin. But I'll just again give Nebraska the slight edge on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about the Matt Rhule thing, and you and I on a previous episode talked about the Nebraska-Miami comparison. I hate to kind of jump back, even though we've spent some time on Nebraska, but Nebraska fans are loyal. If I'm a Nebraska fan, I'm excited about this one.
Absolutely.
Through grading scale, I think Hugh Free's higher football lens is an A+. I think the Matt Rhule higher is at least like an A-. Right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think Luke Fickell was like B+, A- up there. I mean, back on Luke Fickell, this is a name that's been thrown around since last year when Cincinnati was really doing things and put some dudes in the league, with a Sauce Gardner who's really making noise, for the Jets. Makes me want to go play a dynasty with Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So I think it's a home run hire for sure.
Yeah. Now I'll be interested to see what does Jim Leonhard do. Because he was the interim there.
Yeah.
Man, again, I just, both the Wisconsin coaching search and Luke Fickell both just lulled me to sleep. I kind of thought they would be. They've stayed in house on multiple occasions over the years, so kind of felt like they might do that again. They didn't. They made shockwaves throughout the sport. So credit to them. I'll be really interested to see what becomes of Jim Leonhard now.
Yeah, that's interesting because we all kind of thought he was going to be the guy there in Madison, right?
I mean, absolutely.
If he is not retained, for one, I'll have questions about Luke Fickell. However, this Wisconsin defense was not well, but are we really going to put that on their defense? Because that offense was atrocious. It's hard for a defense to be good when your offense is not moving the change.
Absolutely.
I heard some Tennessee fans say, "Hey, bring Jim Leonhard down here," and I was even one of those for a second. I've since recanted. I'm back in love with Tim Banks. I just think we caught the short end of the injury stick in the secondary. But we're not talking about Tennessee. We got more coaches to talk about outside of Knoxville. Who you want to move on to now?
One quick thing before we do move on. I do hope that this Cincinnati coaching search does not cost Tennessee, not an orange cast, but I hope it doesn't cost Tennessee Alex Golish, but his time will definitely be coming probably in the next couple years, if not this time around.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's
very bright.
Coming. He's going to be a hot name. 100%.
Absolutely. But yeah, keeping it within the realm of the NCAA football series coaching carousel. And every time that carousel makes a move, it's not always that someone left or someone made a splash hire. There are contract extensions. There are guys that stay, which should tell you that we're going to talk about Lane Kiffin. I have one quick question on Lane, and he got some coin now on this contract. He got some time and some coin on this contract. Was there not a thing in the state of Mississippi where there was a number of years limitations on contract for coaches, or financial limitations or something like that? It couldn't exceed so many years or so many millions. Was that not a thing? Because again, this contract is pretty long and very lucrative.
You know what? Now that you say that, I thought so. I'll have to go back and look into that, man. I don't remember, but I want to say that was something. But yeah, I mean,
I feel like it was a thing talking about Dan Mullen over the years. When he was still at Mississippi State before he made the move to the East to Florida. I thought that was a stipulation for him. Maybe that's changed. I don't know. It was just curious to me because again, long-term contract, lots of coin for Lane Kiffin, and yet again, when I was looking into these coaches, the ones that came to mind, of course, we're going to miss something along the way here, but
sure.
Thinking about Lane Kiffin, 84-45 as a college coach. Can you believe this man has coached 120 college football games? That feels impossible.
I mean, 2009 was a long time ago.
But looking into his records at his 4 stops, 7-6 at Tennessee, 28-15 at USC. I know that it ended poorly, but I was surprised that he had almost twice the number of wins than losses out there, considering that he got left on the freaking my gosh, the word has left me. He got left waiting on a plane.
Oh,
he was fired on the runway. My gosh, there it is. Good Lord.
Words is hard.
Words are hard. Pulled off 26-13 at Florida Atlantic with some very impressive seasons down there. Mm-hmm. And then he's currently 23-12 at Ole Miss. The only thing that I can kind of think about Lane, just thinking back to how he gets mixed into every coaching search these days, is that he does have some weird losses, like this year losing these late games when his name has been involved with Auburn and, again, coaching searches, even Nebraska at one point, because he was born in Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
Losing to Mississippi State, losing to LSU the way that they did. Of course, LSU is just a weird team this year. Mm-hmm. There's just some weird losses, along the way. But, again, this contract comes out. We're told that Ole Miss is going to make investments in football that they have not made before. I don't know, man. I guess good for them, but I still just can't bring myself to believe that Lane Kiffin will be there long term when anything better than Auburn comes calling.
Well, I mean, he was the hot name for the Auburn job, right? I mean, at least, I mean, that's what the media was driving. Now, obviously, the media is not indicative of what's actually going on in the conversations that are happening behind the scenes. But my thought was Lane Kiffin was the first call. So I don't know. I mean, and I've kind of gone back and forth on if I'm an Ole Miss fan, like what I'm thinking about this Lane Kiffin extension. I think I feel good because I don't want to go through a coaching search, and he has taken us to new heights. But you got some bad losses on there.
Yeah.
And this was a really great opportunity to beat Bama, and you weren't able to capitalize. You have mentioned that Stoops has reached his ceiling at Kentucky. I know that's how you feel. Has Lane bumped his head on the ceiling in Oxford, do you think?
Man, if he exceeds 10 wins, which is the current ceiling down there, again, I'll just be impressed. And I was really impressed this year with, again, how different they are offensively, considering they had Corral. They had a run game last year, but they could throw it on just about anyone last year, and how good Corral was in those receivers. So, I mean, again, if he exceeds the current ceiling, I will just be blown away. Mm-hmm. But to do that, I mean, it's just going to be so hard, and it's only going to get harder. So, we'll owe Lane some massive flowers and respect if he's able to do that. But right now, it just does not seem very likely or doable.
Yeah.
So I guess we're going to have to wait and see what all these investments are, if it's facilities, if it's NIL, because he's certainly got some NIL complaints. We've heard them loud and clear.
Sure.
But at the same time, he's been probably the biggest victor in the transfer portal. A lot of those teams that finished high in those transfer portal rankings, quote unquote, didn't have the record that you would think. Miami was up there. I mean, there's just lots of teams that landed a bunch of transfers and it didn't bode well for them. Look at Oklahoma. All they have transfers. So I'll be interested to see how they do it, but I'll just be blown away if they do it, if they exceed 10 wins and where they've been.
Yeah, fair enough. And I would do want to say props to him for Lane for adapting a system, something that we've given some flack to some other coaches about.
Yeah.
Dabo. Well, he's riding with a guy. But anyway, I mean, you get a transfer portal quarterback come in, Jackson Dart, does pretty well, 2,600 yards, 18 scores, 8 picks. I think you should see some improvement in him next year.
Definitely.
But props to Lane for seeing something in that Judkins, right? And going to get him, and dude rushing for 1,400 yards. Also landing Zach Heavens out of the transfer portal, who ran for 900 yards. I mean, they ran for 3,100 yards on the ground in the season, which is just unreal. I mean, you can't even do that on the video game. So
you're right.
Props to him, man. With the addition of Hugh Freeze, Lane Kiffin, Leach is gonna ankle bite you, here and there. I don't know he'll ever get to 10 wins, but I fully expect him to hang around that 8-4, 9-3. And then you've got Brian Kelly, who I think at this point is fair to say who's only going to continue to trend up.
You would think.
Saban is still there. Sam Pittman.
We'll see.
I don't know. The West just got a whole lot tougher.
Sure did.
So it's interesting. All right, let's move on to the next guy.
Yeah, we have tackled the big fish. I just want to know your thoughts on Brent Key, Georgia Tech there. Actually, I think that interim tag was removed. It's official now, but I think that interim tag was removed sooner than I even had realized.
So they've officially named him?
Yeah. He's the guy down there, it looks like.
Okay.
I learned some interesting stuff about Brent Key today. He played at Georgia Tech for George O'Leary. His first job in coaching was at Georgia Tech. He followed George O'Leary down to UCF, and he was actually going to be the head coach in waiting down there.
Yeah.
And then again, just doing some light reading today, I learned that George O'Leary was at UCF all the way to 2015. That blew my mind to think about, because it feels like more like 20 years ago than 7.
Yeah.
But we know they didn't go in that direction. They went with Scott Frost after George O'Leary resigned. I just wonder how that played out. But obviously at that point, Key went over to Alabama to coach their offensive line. And he also got a big resounding recommendation from Nick Saban in this process, which probably didn't hurt. But yeah, I mean, they fired Collins after those 4 games, the first 4 of the season, going 1-3 in those. And they immediately turned around and beat a ranked Pittsburgh team at that time. They beat Duke in overtime, who had it wasn't a great team, but had some good wins. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had some losses. The one to Miami sticks out to me because of how bad they were, but turned around and beat North Carolina, who was trendy this year, who was very hot. I'll be interested to watch that one. I don't know what to make of it right now, but they definitely did the thing that we begged Auburn to do. We begged other teams to do, firing their coach when it was crystal clear and obvious. They did that, and they rewarded it to the guy who was their interim, Brent Key.
Yeah. No, man, I like it. There was a name being tossed out for that Georgia Tech job, and I went, Bill O'Brien, I don't think you're dynamic enough.
No.
Very dry. I think you're going to have a guy who loves that school, loves that area, understands it in order to kind of get it back on the ground. And I mean, did things that Collins couldn't do with the exact same roster. I do. It does make me wonder with Jeff Sims transferring out. Maybe Sims is just wanting a fresh start. I've said, I've been in the ministry for a long time now, that anytime you introduce change, people leave. It's just what people do when change takes place. So maybe that has something to do with it. But I mean, all the positive things, like you said, like beating North Carolina, amongst other things. He played offensive line, which is what I want to point out. And I think that is the position that you absolutely have to get right in a place like Georgia Tech. Obviously, it's key to football, but you can win games based off your offensive line.
100%.
Yeah. I think the questions for Key are, can he recruit, and is Georgia Tech going to be willing to modify academic standards in order to help build that program? People were saying, man, Deion Sanders, and the more that I thought about this, the more that I thought, man, Deion don't want to touch that.
No.
I just don't. I mean, there was. I've heard people say on TikTok and some guys who run podcasts and stuff. They're saying, well, they were willing to drop the academic standards, a year or two ago or whatever it was. I still just don't think that Dion wanted to touch that one.
Yeah.
Not that I don't think he could redeem it, build it into something respectable, but man, that is a heck of a hurdle, mountain to get over.
Yeah.
He played at Georgia Tech, offensive line there, started all 4 years, which is funny because he's from Alabama.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out, being under O'Leary, one of the best, I think, a name that doesn't get thrown out enough because of where he spent the majority of his time. But I like it, man. I mean,
Yeah. Same.
if you're a Tech fan, I mean, are you realistically saying, man, I wanted Luke Fickell. Man, I wanted, we wanted Matt Rhule, or, I mean, really?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't know that you would have ever been in consideration for that job.
Yeah. Not if those guys had the offers that they obviously did.
Yeah.
I think Rhule could have done fantastic things at Georgia Tech, because when you look at a guy who, there's others that just are masters of finding, unheralded recruits, taking them to heights that people didn't see in them. And Rhule may be one of those guys. And if he could do that in and around Atlanta, sure, in a conference like that, might be softer competition than the Big Ten could present over 12 games every year, or over 9-10 conference games every year.
Yeah.
I think that he could have had a higher ceiling, but you're just not going to land those guys when they have offers like Nebraska, Wisconsin. It is going to be fascinating to watch what Dion does. I mean, he's handling this, and he's like, we've talked about this and made this reference. He's like a Trump being a president. He's not your typical old school football coach. He's out here announcing, yes, I've got an offer from Colorado and things like that. He's going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
No matter where he goes, no matter what he does, he could stay for that matter. It's going to be fascinating. He's done well at Jackson State, and he'll certainly recruit well wherever he goes. And he would have ripped up the recruiting game in Atlanta and just, toured a new one, is what he would have done. But how would he have handled the coaching? I don't know. So, yeah. Georgia Tech, you can't be mad about not landing those big guys. And I think Key, after the start that they had, earned it. Like you said, earned this interim tag being removed, and has now a shot to see what he can do down there.
Man, crazy. I like it though. I mean,
yeah.
So far, all these coaching changes, I'm in favor of. I think it's good hires. I think they're good fits. Obviously there's that extra baggage that Freeze comes with, and if we're going to talk the fit conversation, but anyway, nonetheless, who's next, or is he the last one?
He's the last major one. I wanted to ask you if you saw who the University of Alabama Birmingham has hired.
Oh no, I did not. I forgot about Bill Clark being stepping down from there.
Yeah.
No. You want to give me? Let's play a guessing game. Can you give me some hints? Give me some.
Was a quarterback, is a Westerner, West Coast guy. Just through and through West Coast guy. Has now got some Southeast roots.
Showing my hands, so
all right.
Make sure people don't know I'm Googling. All right, so quarterback from the West Coast with Southeastern roots.
Late has got some recent Southeastern roots built in. If you guess this with your hands up high and not Googling this, I will be blown away.
Can you give me an era in which he played or something like that?
He played quarterback in the 90s, early 2000s.
90s to early 2000s. Casey Clausen.
Nope. Great guess, but no.
Okay. Fiddlesticks. What does it rhyme with?
It rhymes with Spent Tilfer.
I'll take Trent Dilfer for $200, Bob.
They hired Trent Dilfer at UAB. Yeah.
Whoa. Wow.
The coach, the Southeastern roots now, of course, being coaching high school ranks at Lipscomb Academy, I believe it is, in Nashville.
Wasn't he the one who did the Elite 11 quarterback?
He absolutely
for years?
did.
So he's stepping out of that, huh?
I guess so. Yeah. He is making a big jump from, I think, not being in coaching to high school ranks in Nashville, Tennessee to UAB. And that's a program that's been through some adversity with potentially shutting the program down. I think they may have even done it for a year.
Yeah.
They have some Tennessee flavor in that athletic department with Mark Ingram there, the AD. Bill Clark's a guy that you and I think a lot of.
Yeah.
And, I think the timing of him stepping down was probably to try to give the guy that has been the interim, Brian Vincent, give him a shot. And I think some players were even wanting that to happen. That's obviously not going to be the case. Like I said, they've gone with Trent Dilfer. So nothing huge there, but again, just will be fascinating to watch, see if he can establish himself at this level as a coach and see what happens.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Hey, I'm going to ask you a question based off all to get for all the coaches, but I do want to say one thing. Since we're talking coaching carousel before we move on, a name and that's now out there for the coaching market is Will Hilly being let go at Charlotte. So there is I want to be careful. I know somebody who is engaged to a player who played under Healy. Okay. And when I talked to him, his words were, Coach Healy is going to have to learn how to treat his players better in order for him to be a head coach.
Hate that.
Yeah, because it's not what we thought. Right. Hey, my hands are up. I'm not saying that Healy is a bad dude. I'm just relaying a message. Michael and I have been really big fans.
Oh yeah,
of Healy since he's a Chattanooga guy. All right, so when Butch Jones was hired at Tennessee, the question was, can he recruit? Remember that?
Sure. Yep.
Can he recruit? When Pruitt was hired, I'm not sure what the question was, but we knew that he was a football coach. We knew that he could recruit well because he'd done it. I guess the question was, can he handle being the CEO or whatever? And he couldn't. Turns out Butch Jones was a used car salesman, by the way.
Yeah.
Based off these coaches, Hugh Freeze, Brent Key, Luke Fickell, and Matt Rhule. All four. Can he what? What is the question that they are asking based off, for Matt Rhule? Is it, can he recruit? Is it, can he, it's not, can he be CEO? Because we've seen him do that. So
yeah,
Matt Rhule, you would say, what's the question? What's the verdict that we need to get answered on Matt Rhule?
The word that I would use after can he sustain it?
Okay.
Because of the quick, just meteoric rise for Rhule, for his programs that he's been at. I don't think he'll be looking, to take another leap to the NFL by any means. I don't think he'll be looking for another college job unless it's just, an absolute established blue blood. But even then, you're talking about, do you want to replace the guy? That's not a topic for today, but can he sustain it? He's not been at any of his stops for more than, looks like Temple for 4 years. Yeah, Temple for 4 years, Baylor for 3. So, can he sustain it? Can he do it for the long haul if he has some early success?
Okay. My question actually on him is similar to Butch. Can he recruit?
That's fair.
Temple and Baylor have something in common. Is Temple's located in Pennsylvania. It's a great recruiting ground. Baylor, obviously in Texas, great recruiting ground. Nebraska, it's not. And I don't think that, I'm not saying this in question so much to Matt Rhule as I am to whoever is the head coach at Nebraska. Is this situation that you're in? Can you recruit? Can you win? Can you win those guys in the transfer portal? Can you convince dudes to come? Not any dude, but can you convince those dudes, those ballers, those guys, those studs to come play in Lincoln, Nebraska?
Yeah. Okay. That's so fair. That's so fair.
That's my question.
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze, can he what?
It's real simple for me with Hugh.
Keep it in his pants. Oh, I'm sorry. Where's the censor button? Sorry.
Oh, that's even simpler than I was going to keep it. It's different. It's different than Matt Rhule, because Matt Rhule is really, his first failure was in the NFL. So it is what it is. Can Hugh Freeze be there in 2027, in 5 years, 2028? Can he be there at that point? Can he keep himself out of trouble while also meeting the on the field expectations at Auburn, which is going to be beating Alabama more, frequently. Mm-hmm. It's going to be getting to Atlanta, probably winning the SEC is going to be the expectation if he has success like we expect him to from a football standpoint. But my question is, can he be there in 5 years?
Okay, that's good. I think that's solid. Which is okay. Good question. Mine's a little bit different. You and I have said that winning covers a multitude of sins. You win, and that just changes everything, right? It's crazy how all the stuff started coming out on Butch in 2017 when things started to trend down fast, right?
Yep.
All the stuff that started to pop up because you were losing. My question regarding Hugh Freeze is, can he change the perception on himself?
Very good question.
And can he do it outside of the winning game department? Can he change the moral perception on himself? And I think if he can do that, that is a big hurdle he can overcome because we know he can win, right? Know he can recruit. And now, the difference between his time at Auburn than Ole Miss is you've got the NIL game. So, you don't have to do a lot of these things that you were doing.
Yeah.
So, roll Tide. Anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
Luke Fickell, can he what?
Man, Fickell's the hardest one probably to do it because he's been so consistent. There's not, he's not been a stepping stone guy. He's not been an immoral guy. So I guess just thinking about Wisconsin, can he modernize Wisconsin?
Yeah. Dang it. You stole my thunder.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Can he bring him out of the past? Can he do it? I think he can. I think
absolutely.
I feel confident in answering that question. I can't speak to Hugh Freeze, and I'm not sure I can speak to Matt Rhule yet, but I think he can. Wisconsin, I think they're a lot like Tennessee. If you can get some dudes on the campus to visit, Madison's #1 college university in the country. So, party school is what I meant. Party school. Yeah. And then there is what was the other one? I'm brain farting.
Brent Key, Lane Kiffin. We've talked about.
Let's throw that in there for Lane Kiffin. Why not? I mean, he's going on a year 4.
Yes,
ending year 3.
Year 3's ending. Yeah, year 4's coming for Lane. Oh man, you go first for Lane.
Okay. So what I really like about Lane, if I'm an Ole Miss fan, is the losses. He doesn't want to talk about. He was like all this and that, and he's like, guys, we lost. But I don't care about that stuff. I don't care about this stat. I don't care about that stat. We lost. That's what I want to hear out of my football coach. Okay.
Yes.
Now they're coming off a 8-4 season. Is that right?
Yep. That's right.
Okay. My question to Lane Kiffin is, can you raise the bar? Can you actually raise the ceiling at Ole Miss? And I think if there's anybody who could do it at Ole Miss, I do think it's Lane Kiffin. I think he can push that ceiling. And I think that Ole Miss is getting into a position where they're ready to throw more money.
Yeah, I think so.
At football, realizing potentially what they're capable of. Saban's going to be on his final years at some point. The dude's 73 years old.
Yeah.
You draw Vanderbilt from the East every year.
Yeah.
I think it's looking good for you.
Yeah. And my question is similar, and it really it kind of comes back to those losses that I talked about that he's taken at times, even last year when they had a really good year, is can he get to Atlanta? Well, maybe the SEC championship game goes away, but can he be a top 2? Because in the future, it's going to be the top 2 SEC teams. So can he be a top 2 SEC team, or can he win his division if we maintain divisions in the SEC? Because that will require the consistency that you kind of talked about, that I'm really, really wondering about when I look at these weird losses over time. Like this year, I kind of get it this year because his name was just out there for everything. And also they lost Matt freaking Corral last year. Yeah. So, I'm a little grace for the losses this year. You would have liked to see him probably win 9 or 10 again instead of 8, but can he win his division and or get to Atlanta?
I think asking the question, can he get to Atlanta, is a very similar way of saying, can he raise the bar? Right.
Yeah, that's very true.
So very, very similar thoughts there. I believe that Ole Miss is one of 2 schools in the conference to never go to Atlanta.
That's correct.
Right? Them and Vanderbilt?
Yep. That's correct.
Yep. Mississippi State's been there. I mean, you got to go. You got to do it.
You got to go.
You got to do it. And then that leaves us with Brent. What's his middle name? I'm going to say Brent Michael Key. Michael Key's he's that comedian. Brent
is his middle name. So
here we go again. John.
Yep.
Jacob Brent. I don't know. What do we got?
Donald Brent Key.
Oh God, Donald. No wonder he goes by Brent. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
I hope my father-in-law's not listening to this. His name is Donald. Love you, Papa.
Oh, it's clear that you do. No, I'm kidding. For Brent Key, man, the Georgia Tech is just in such a mess. Mm-hmm. Can he win 8 games within 4 years? That's really all I want to know. That would tell me a lot if he does. But
8 games, and
8 games.
Win 8 games over a span of 4 years.
Sorry. Can he have an 8-win season within?
I was like, because he's got 4 now.
Yeah, my bad.
Okay,
poor wording.
So can he get an 8-4 year?
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's more than one. I think there's more than one question.
Big time.
I think it's, can he recruit? Can he change the culture? I think there's a lot of things. My thing is, gosh, you're in Atlanta. You're in a division with parity. Can he? So I could word that to where it's going to be very similar to you. This is going to feel like a cop out.
You're good.
Can you be respectable? As in, can you, when you lose, was it a fight? Do people dread, preparing for you? Are you going to get blown out 34-3, or are you going to take that game 34-31?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And I think if you're doing that, you'll find bowl eligibility within 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Just make them respectable. I mean, they've been able to land some guys. They got Jahmyr Gibbs there.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. All it takes is for someone like a Georgia or an Alabama I'm just talking about who was regionally near, Jahmyr Gibbs is for someone to be undervalued, find you someone, not the next, because they're all individuals and they're all talented, but find you a Jahmyr Gibbs, find you a Quinshon Judkins, a 3-star guy that has a lot of potential, and you're going to have to do it at multiple positions because you don't have the talent of even an Ole Miss. So, yeah, I mean, got to land you a quarterback, and you got to have some playmakers to get it to.
Okay. You triggered a thought. I want to restructure this question. I want to change my answer. Can you get the administration, the boosters, those guys to support you financially?
There you go. That's good.
Can you get the NIL dollars? Can you get those guys to pour into it, to do some things to a very old stadium, right?
Yeah.
To help you in recruiting. Can you do those things?
There you go.
Can you get financial support? If you can do that, I think you can actually get, to be respectable. I think you can find 6-6 in 2 to 3 years at least.
Yeah.
I think you can make losses competitive. So we'll see. I mean, Georgia Tech is not dead in the water so much as I feel, honestly, like a Miami is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean they, again, they had an ugly loss to Miami this year, but credit to Miami for showing up at least 1 week this year. I mean, seriously, I like their situation better than Miami's until things change. And that's just bananas to say.
Yeah.
But Miami is down bad.
Yeah. Mario Cristobal is going to he is now in prove it mode. You're going to have to prove it at this point, because you're getting ready to enter into year 2. Year 1's done. You're not you don't get bold, nothing. You're done. And Auburn just showed us that, hey, we'll fire you in year 2.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
That's normalized now. So can't do this again next year. Can't even do anything like this next year.
Yep. One name we did forget to mention is old Dillingham taking the job at Arizona State, but I don't know what to say about that guy. So
yeah, I couldn't even answer that can he blah question because I just don't know that guy. I don't know what to think of Auburn. I'm sorry. I say Auburn because of Bo Nix and because of Lanning coming from the Southeast, but I don't know enough about Oregon to form a thought about their offensive coordinator this year. So that's pretty much where I'm at on him. Good luck to him.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this Coaching Carousel special episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you letting us tickle the ears. Would love for if you're watching on YouTube to drop a comment. Let us know what you think, whether you agree, whether you disagree. If you disagree, you can suck it and shut up. I'm kidding. Let us know. I'm getting violent, bro. I was violent on
You're
the
getting
last.
very violent.
I know. I mean, the South Carolina loss is making me
It did
bitter.
it.
It's making me
It did it.
twitch.
Yeah.
That stupid rooster crowing still crows in my sleep.
Oh,
hey,
man.
appreciate you guys being with us. Make sure you like. We do this for free. We don't get any paid. We don't get any dollars off this. I mean, nothing. We do this for free. Our time, your ears. Click the like button. Click subscribe. That tells us you love us. Love is a verb. It's not a noun. Show us. Okay? We love you guys. If you don't do that, then we don't love you.
Facts.
Have a great day. God bless and go Balls.
TBO.
Pandemonium Reigns.